How's it going, everybody? And welcome to this another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast with yours truly, Seth Hill. Today on the podcast, we are going to have Emma Pallant-Browne, who is originally from London, but then she moved to Johannesburg not too long ago. And she is a professional triathlete, Ironman champion, Ironman 70.3 champion, multi podiums, and she's at the World Championships gotten a second and third spot before. She's got by the time this podcast airs, probably the World Championship coming up in Finland, of where she hopes to get first. Really rooting for her there. But in this conversation, just ask her a little bit about who she is, what she's into, how she grew up. We talk a little bit about religion. We talk about her Cadex bike. But yeah, just an overall super fun conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. And this episode, by the way, is brought to you by Trax. You can check out their awesome running shorts in the link in the description. And we hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks so much. First of all, just thank you so much for jumping on. I know we've never officially met before, but super excited to get to meet you and have you on the podcast. Yeah,
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks for having me.
So just so everyone knows, what time is it where you're from in Johannesburg?
It is just gone 7:30.
Yeah, so
It's nice and pitch black.
yeah, even more props to you. Thank you so much for jumping on. I know it's kind of late because usually I'm trying to get in bed by like 9 o'clock. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good deal. So I guess to kind of start off, welcome to the podcast, and I want to just hear if you were to introduce yourself to somebody who's never heard of you, doesn't know what you do, how would you introduce yourself?
I'd probably say hi. I'm Emma Pallant-Browne. Yeah, I'm a professional triathlete and a wife and a mum of two gorgeous dogs.
Oh, awesome. How long have you been married?
So we actually did the strange COVID wedding thing.
Mm,
Sure, yeah, I think it's coming up to maybe it's 2.5 years or nearly three. Yeah,
yeah,
2021. So yeah, 2.5.
yeah. Good for you. That's awesome.
Thanks.
So where did you grow up? I heard from over in Europe, and then you moved to where you are now.
Yeah, so I grew up just south of London. Actually went to uni in London, and yeah, then married a South African and decided he probably survived about 4 days in London.
Yeah,
And then was like, no, this weather is not for me.
yeah,
And yeah, I love Johannesburg. Like it's very much home for me now.
yeah, for sure. How long have you lived in Johannesburg then?
Again, kind of officially since lockdown. We were
Okay.
kind of a back and forth a little bit. Yeah, after just before COVID, still spending a bit of time there. But then, yeah, COVID, it was proper lockdown here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Crazy time for the whole world. So when I was reading a little bit about you, I read, I forget where, but one thing you really liked about Johannesburg is when you're riding and maybe even running, you can run and see giraffes and other wildlife. Tell me about that kind of experience because we obviously, most of us don't get to have that.
Yeah, it's so cool. So it's actually called the Cradle of Humankind. So it's meant to be where the first kind of sign of humans or something was. Like that's what the
Mm,
caves are kind of famous for. And it's got, yeah, I don't know if you know Richmond Park in London, but
mm-mm.
to the Londoners, I kind of describe it as a massive Richmond Park because it's basically, yeah, out. There's a couple of kind of game farms, and it's probably, I'd say it's about 35K of a loop. And then you can do like little out and backs from that loop. But yeah, just go on a Saturday or Sunday, and it's just full of people just riding their
Wow.
bikes and running. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Have you ever almost hit a giraffe or a rhino or anything?
No, so they're actually the other side of the fences. So
Okay, that makes sense.
you sometimes get baboons like that are run,
Mm,
and these things are massive.
yeah.
And if I'm on my own and I see one crossing the road, I'm like, I turn
Turn
and
around.
yeah, go full circle the other way. They scare me, but yeah, the guys ride through them.
Yeah, for sure. What's the so it's Southern Hemisphere. I'm not really good with geography, but so you guys are in the middle of winter right now, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So thankfully, I think we've had the coldest spell because it does get super. So the night times will be dropped down to like 0 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
but then the daytime it'll still be a nice kind of sunny 20 degrees. Yeah, just nights and mornings are super cold,
Yeah, wow.
but it's dry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and for those who don't know Fahrenheit, I think 0 degrees is like -10 or maybe zero. I don't ever know. I'll have to do some things and throw it up on the screen or something. But yeah. So I guess going back when you were much younger, tell me about who was Emma like? Did you grow up thinking I'm going to be a professional athlete of some sort, or how did that kind of wiggle its way into your future?
Yeah, I think I always just loved sport.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, I was that annoying kind of sister on a holiday that would drag my brother and my sister to play tennis all day and to be swimming and to, yeah, just be moving all the time. And to begin with, I was pretty naughty at school when I was little. And then
Mm-hmm.
my mum realized the more kind of after school sports I did, and even if I swam in the morning before school, like I was so much better behaved and kind of calmer and chilled at school. So yeah, I think that was like her coping mechanism to begin. And I just loved it. Like I think, yeah, afternoons I'd be out in the street kind of playing football with the other kids in the road, and just I love to move and be outside. And yeah, I think I don't know, I just knew it was something I loved. I never really thought it would be a profession. My mum's a doctor, so I
Okay.
always kind of idolized her when I was little and I wanted to be a
Mm.
doctor. And then I have an annoying thing where I faint when I see blood. So
Been there.
my mum was like, I don't think you're going to be a doctor. So then I decided I was going to be a physiotherapist, which funnily enough, I actually had to watch heart surgery on, I was doing cardiac rehabilitation on one of my placements at uni. And I did end up passing out. So yeah,
Oh,
physio also involves blood.
yeah, for sure. Wow.
um,
So, yeah.
yeah. So and then yeah, I guess just like it was when I was playing lots of sports that my running coach eventually said to me, like, if you want to be good at something, you got to choose one and really commit full into it.
Hmm. Yeah, and you said so when you got into the running, like you did you dream of taking that the full way? Because I read like one, I think it's your favorite movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a running movie. Um,
Yeah, without limits.
yeah, Without Limits. So was that like part of the inspiration? Did you want to go full on like I'm gonna go be an Olympian, or what was your like running career like before your? I guess you had knee injuries. So.
Yeah, I think we had a runner in the club that was yeah, getting the GB kits, going to exotic places to run world champs and stuff. And I kind of thought, yeah, I think that's something I want to do. Like, but I knew kind of, yeah, even at a young age, like it's tough. Like there's you got to really commit, and I was definitely willing to put in the work. But I think I kind of was like, okay, I have this dream to go to the Olympics, but probably so do other like 50 kids at this club.
Mm. How did you get involved with the club? Did you already know about it? Is it something you sought out?
Yeah, so I was just doing a local cross country. It was kind of actually my sister had signed up to it, and she's older than me, and I was like, anything that she did, I wanted to beat her at. So I signed up
Nice.
as well to be in the same race. And at the end, because I was one of the youngest racing, and I think yeah, I did a top 10, and at the end, this guy came along and he's like, is your mum here? And I was like, yeah, like brought my mum over. And he was like, yeah, I think she could be really good. And here's my club. Here's where I coach. There's loads of kids her age. Like, it would just be fun to begin with, no pressure. And my mum was like, yeah, I think she'll love this.
Yeah. Do you remember how old exactly you were and how fast you were running at that age?
So I would have been under 9. So 8 years, probably 8 years old, maybe just turned 9.
Wow, that's awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. Sure. I don't know about times. I definitely didn't care about times at that age.
Yeah, just placement. You just want to beat your sister. That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then going up through that, when you were starting to pursue that, I guess with a little more seriousness, did you notice yourself just to progress very quickly, or were you like, no, I'm doing this for fun and didn't pay attention too much to that? Like, what was that journey like?
Yeah, I think I straight away I wanted to race, and
Mm.
I always just loved the competition. And we actually started racing everything. So there was two girls that actually became like my best friends, and we were starting to race the warm ups. And then like just the whole session, every session, my coach is like, I think these girls can only come twice a week or they're going to like destroy
Kill
themselves.
himself. Yeah.
And yeah, they made sure it was like fun as well, that we were playing games like tag rugby and stuff, just to make sure that we weren't overdoing kind of the miles. But I always wanted to go further and do more, and kind of added in my own little runs with the dog at home. Like my dad would go out for a run, I'd be like, yeah, take me with you. And then he
Wow.
quickly stopped taking me with him. And then my mum would follow in the car. And yeah, I kind of just, I don't know, I felt like I was, yeah, I just loved it. I really loved it. And I love the races and always look forward to them. So yeah, I think I just wanted to race.
Yeah. How many siblings do you have, and where are you at in the lineup?
So I'm the middle child, and I have an older sister and a younger brother.
Okay, nice. How close are you guys in age?
2 years apart either way.
Okay, interesting. So there's competition obviously there. You said your sister was the older one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and so you were trying to compete with her. Do you think that your just love for endurance and I guess the sport stuff, was that more of like a nature or nurture thing? Like, where did that come from?
Um, I think a lot of it was kind of nature, because my sister, like, she really wasn't competitive. My brother is now a professional ballet dancer. He's like,
Wow.
again, super chilled, like not that fussed. Whereas, yeah, for me, like, I wouldn't go in from a tennis game on holiday unless I was winning. In the end, they just like let me win so we could end the game.
So you go home.
So yeah, I think it was kind of in my genes from like a young age, but I think my mum just saw it made me happy, kind of the sporting side, and not so much, it wasn't competing about other people, but I wanted to see how fast I could go and what I could
Yeah,
do. And I think she really encouraged that. So I think again that kind of nature was then nurtured because she kind of
sure.
helped me grow, and I had real support there.
Yeah. Was there any reservations from your parents as you start to pursue like the track career and then move more into this, or was it always like, hey, 110% Emma, go?
Yeah, I think my mum, there were definitely times, yeah, where she thought I was overdoing it, when I got super skinny at one point. And she definitely, yeah, started hiding my run shoes a couple of times. And
Oh my.
yeah, would, would intervene where she felt was like, yeah, if she had to. But I think as well, she was very like balanced on the side of like, you still have to finish school, you got to get your grades, and I want you to go to university. So she made sure, because I was adamant from the age of like 16, I was like, I just want to be a runner. I want to just, yeah, I'm going to be a professional runner, because I was already kind of competing internationally.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I want you to get your physio degree. I want you to have that behind you just in case like something happens.
And then you did graduate with your physio degree, correct? Or
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
You did. Okay. Do you think you'll ever use it?
Yeah, so I actually worked the first year. I set up my own business in a bodybuilding gym, so I had plenty of clients.
Nice.
And yeah, I then it was actually when I moved to triathlon and I started doing it properly and realizing, okay, this is actually, you got to go all in, like it's a full-time thing. You're not just running once a day. Then I yeah, sold the clientele book. And
Oh, good for
I
you.
don't know, now I think with a physio, you have people coming to you because they're injured, like they don't particularly want to come to you, it's like because they're injured. Whereas now I'm coaching, I actually prefer that, because people come to you because they want to do what you're going to set. Like as a
Sure.
physio, I used to have to beg them, like, please do your
Yeah.
exercises, please do this, like
Yeah.
I don't want to see you next week because I want this to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
You kind of get stronger from this. Whereas with a coach, the better a job you do, like the more people come back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of works better for me.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. My wife is getting her degree nurse practitioner, but her father and everybody is a bunch of doctors and surgeons, and they, yeah, that's the common thing they're telling us about, like, yeah, you don't want to see your patients more, but they keep coming back in. You tell them to do X, Y, Z, eat this, do this, and you'll be better. And yeah, most
Yeah.
people chase after the medicine, I guess. But yeah, that's tough place to be in. So going back just a little bit, so you're getting more into more of your track career. You're starting to travel and compete internationally. Um, I know that you had a knee injury that ultimately kind of, I don't know, forced but encouraged your transition to triathlon. So tell us a little bit about how that injury started, if you can even remember, like when you first started noticing issues, how it came to, I guess, the apex of when you decided to switch to triathlon.
Yeah, so I'd actually started my physio degree, and I had knee pain like kind of growing up. It ended up being Osgood Schlatter, so where the bone grows faster than the tendon.
Hmm.
They're like, that's normal, like you just have to manage it, like do plenty of stretching, don't overdo the running. So I always had like a little niggle in the knee, and it just progressively got worse, worse, worse. And then I started studying physio, and I'd always tell myself like the exact opposite that I would tell my patients. Like with your patients, you're super cautious. With yourself, I was like convincing myself, it's nothing. Like it's best case scenario, it's just a twinge. And it got to the point where the pain was so bad, I couldn't push off that knee.
Uh,
um, on UK Athletics funding. So went and had all the scans, and they were like, "You've got patella tendinopathy that's gone so far. We think you've actually split the tendon. Half of the tendon is
ouch.
actually come apart." So they got a really good surgeon over. I think he was from Belgium, and he operated on me, and they were like, okay, 50% chance that you're going to come back to endurance running.
Wow.
And yeah, it was painful for quite a long time. And in that time, like every time I felt like I was getting somewhere, I then have to back off the training because it would just niggle again.
Hmm.
Um, and that was kind of how I started cross training, because I was like, okay, I need to fill in the gaps of, I can't just always be doing half the training that everyone else is doing. And pulled out of the Olympic trials. I was running the 5K 2012 Olympic trials on the track. My knee just blew up, like I'd overdone it going into it.
Hmm.
Um, Pulled off. Kelly Holmes was mentoring me at the time, and she was like, okay, I've got a charity entry for London Triathlon. Why don't you just do that to get yourself in a good headspace and to swim and bike, like have some meaning to your swim and bike.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was kind of, yeah, I just absolutely loved the whole thing of triathlon. It was a new challenge. Like I'd been running since the age of, I don't know, like young.
Yeah.
And this is something new and hard, and no one knew who I was. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. I watched a video, I think it was with Cadex, and you said you like being on the hunt. Is that, do you kind of always prefer to be in the back to where you're on the hunt, or and have you thought about how that may change when you end up taking that first place podium at a world championship?
Yeah, I think I've kind of been used to now being from, I think as a runner, I was always the hunted, because I'd always go off hard. I always want it to be a hard race. And it would be
Hmm.
like, she'd kick up the bell and can she hold on type thing. And then that totally reversed when I go into triathlon, and like even at World Champs last year, come off the bike, and my husband shouts to me like, "There's 6 minutes up the road," and you gotta you can't let that affect you. You just gotta think like just not think about it being 6 minutes, because yeah, if you're, I don't know, it doesn't seem achievable at times.
Yeah, it's far.
But yeah, I think the minute you see them in sight, that's when you know it's kind of yeah, the hunt is really on. It's not just like a time and a paper game. It's like, okay, this is doable.
Yeah. So you touched on something there that's, I think, really important. Kind of the mental fortitude and the ability to have the belief that you can get somewhere, or kind of ignore some of the more negative aspects of like, oh my goodness, I'm 6 minutes down. How do you kind of train your mind for when those moments occur when you are going to have to perform? Do you ever think about how to address that type of a mental strength building before racing?
Yeah, I always think like, as long as you make, all you can control is your controllables, and as long as you make yourself, like, you know that you've put what you've put into it. If you've done everything you can to get yourself to that line as strong, as healthy, and that's as well about being smart with recovery. Like, have you recovered enough? Have you been sleeping enough? Have you been foam rolling enough? Like all the
Mm-hmm.
little bits. And as long as you've done all that, I've now got to the place where actually I've learned to become proud of my performance rather than like a result on paper. That actually, I know you know the shape that you've got yourself into, and you never want to let anyone down in the race. And it's often builds up as quite a bit of pressure going in. And I always just think you've got to be proud of yourself crossing that line. You've got to know that there was nothing more you can give, that there was no point where you let that bit of kind of niggle in your head that says this pain is too much, where is, as long as you know you overrid every one of those and you gave it everything you had, then you can be proud. No matter what the result is on paper, you can be proud of that performance because you controlled the controllables and you got all out of yourself. And that kind of has helped me take pressure off myself because I know that that's something I can control, and it doesn't matter what anyone else does. That's something that I can be like within me. I can never give up fighting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, how long have you been a professional triathlete now?
I think officially probably around 2013. So yeah, 10
Okay,
years.
almost 10 years.
Cool.
Yeah. So, at what point, or was that always the case from like 2013 to now? Did you ever make a switch of like, okay, this is my mindset now that you just described? Did you ever struggle before that with, oh, I just,
Yeah, definitely. I think before that, I've definitely gone through times where I maybe haven't listened to my coach as much, and I've done a lot of overtraining, so kind of added in sessions to try and help my confidence, kind of to test myself and to try and help me go into a race confident. I've definitely overtrained and overdone it, and raced quite tired, and then not being able to kind of get to that next push and that next level. Almost like a bit of like a zombie, like where you're just on that you just got this one gear that you keep on
yeah.
shoveling out. But I think probably a big difference was getting married and having Jaryd. He kind of balances I'm very much like to go all in and like to just give 100% to everything. And he's been that person that has made me see there's more to life, that a happy athlete is a fast athlete, that you need to have the balance. And yeah, you need to give people that matter in your life time. And I think that's overall made me a much more balanced, happier person. And then that's fed into being a more controlled, smarter athlete, listening to my coach, having respect for kind of the team around me, which is, yeah, definitely been that switch of, okay, it's not, I'm going into a race, I'm going to give 100%. And if I don't win this race, I've let everyone down around me. And like, I'm embarrassed to talk to them. And like, which, yeah, as a young athlete, I definitely felt that kind of pressure.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like Jared's definitely understands the concept of happy wife, happy life, and happy Emma,
Sometimes.
happy racer. Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's cool. Is Jared actually in the room right now?
He went off upstairs.
Oh, okay. I was gonna have him jump on and show everyone's face. But how did you meet Jared, and what does he do?
So officially, um, we met so I'd broken my shoulder in Lanzarote.
Ouch.
I'd fainted off my bike and was in a bad way. And my coach at the time and mum and everyone was like, you're not racing in 2 months' time. But I'd booked up my trip to South Africa and I wanted to do this race. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to race. And they were all like, okay, well, no one's coming with you. If you decide to do this, you're on your own, because I think they thought that I wouldn't do it. So I was like, cool,
Oh,
went off. And then, yeah, landed in South Africa. First
yeah.
race, 70.3, that was on my own.
Wow.
And this nice young guy came down at breakfast and was like, oh, if you need anything, like, hi, my
Yeah.
name's Jaryd. And I was like, oh, hi. And then, yeah, the after party, and then just kind of happened.
Yeah. How long did you guys date before you got engaged then?
So probably so then he came to Europe twice or three times that year. I came back to South Africa four times. And we kind of, yeah, probably officially started dating a few months after we met. And then I officially moved in, yeah, just pre-COVID. So I guess we'd been kind of dating for a year, maybe year and a
Okay,
half.
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah, no, no, that's
You
good.
didn't miss
That's good.
about.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's more appropriate when you're a little bit. You're 32, 31.
33 now, I think.
Oh,
Jeez.
33. No,
Yeah,
congratulations.
he's 28, so we'll take his age. We'll
Okay,
average it out.
nice. Yeah, nice. So let's go back to Lanzarote. I didn't actually realize that you had broken your arm and you fainted. So what was it like before that race? Was it one of those situations where you were just overtrained and you passed out, or were you really hot, or what's the story there?
Yeah, so I was actually there on a training camp.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd done a super hard session on the treadmill. So I'm a really heavy sweater.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a really hard kind of morning treadmill session. And then when I was just kind of cooling down in the gym, someone had said to me, "Oh, you know, the wind is going to get like crazy in the afternoon. Like don't go out riding in the afternoon." So I was like, sure. Well, that gives me like literally I have to jump on the bike now to make it back in time. So yeah, didn't drink enough, didn't eat enough, just literally got changed, jumped on the bike, was going up a climb, feeling good, pumping it hard. And then, yeah, I just remember starting the descent and then waking up with, yeah, ambulance and everyone around.
Wow.
Not
You
good.
don't remember passing out, falling, or anything?
No, no. And thankfully there was a car behind me that was following and she just said like I started kind of swinging from
Oh,
side to side on the
my
road and she kind
goodness.
of knew that, but she said I was like all floppy when I hit the ground, which was probably a good thing
Yeah.
because yeah.
Yeah, you're not tense enough to break something. That's intense.
Yeah.
Ugh. I've crashed on my bike. I can't imagine crashing while passed out. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be that bad until after you wake
Instead
up.
I,
As long as you
yeah,
wake
yeah.
up, but sheesh. How long was that recovery then? You said a
So
few months?
I was on the BMC team. So at the time they took me straight to after I could fly. I went to their hospital in Belgium. Decided not to pin it because then I'd lose range and be even worse at swimming. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, probably the road rash and stuff took about. I'd say I was back in the pool, kind of just trying to get range back within 3 to 4 weeks.
That's no joke.
And yeah, I raced 7 weeks after.
Wow. That's a really fast heal. Was it like a compound fracture or a hairline deal or?
So it's actually I've still got a gap where I'd broken it previously in Phuket, but then this was kind of the wide bit of the bone. So actually my shoulder had more range in the end, but it was
Yeah.
quite not like I'd get a lot of pain when it pinched every time it came together.
Mm.
But yeah, now I've pretty much it was just making the muscles around like holding it. I don't know. It kind of holds it apart and it's fun.
So the bone is now healed all the way through?
No, no,
It
no. So
literally has a gap still?
yeah,
How is that allowed? Like not your clavicle, but you're like up here in your shoulder, you're
yeah.
saying?
So on the like the thick bit of the clavicle,
Yeah.
so that's like so it's joined at the bottom, and
Yeah.
then it has like a gap just at the top.
Wow, that's insane. But you have better motion, so that's why you're such a
Yeah,
good swimmer.
exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. So question, switching gears just a little bit. You've been doing endurance sport or sport, I guess, from a very young age, so it's a very big part of your identity. Um, we don't all live forever. It seems like the retiring age from triathlon is late 30s, early 40s. If you're young, maybe never. For you, as you get ready to like transition, I don't say get ready because like you're gonna retire soon, but have you ever thought about like how your identity is currently right now and if you will struggle whenever it's time to like move on to the next thing, or have you thought about that and kind of separated yourself? No, Emma's an endurance sport athlete, but she can you can be separated and do something else too.
Yeah, I definitely like. I always see myself, and I think this is quite an interesting question because we actually discussed it when there were 6 girls at Collins Cup racing for Europe, and Natasha Badman was there, and she obviously is a retired triathlete, and she'd left the room to get some things, and we were like, who would be like, who here is still going to be a team manager or would be in triathlon?
Mm,
And it was half and half. Like 3 of the girls wouldn't want to be involved. And I was
really?
one of the 3 that was like, yeah, like I always think I'm going to coach. Like I feel like I've learned so much from my journey. And there's so much that 10 years ago, I wish the me now could go back and be like, whoa, like I would do this different.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to stay in triathlon. I want to believe that there's a bigger reason for this, that if you're succeeding at sport, that leads to something that you can give back in a bigger way. Like, I always think you should leave the sport in a better way than when you came into it. And that obviously requires a lot of work after you're a pro athlete. And for me, a huge thing and a huge opportunity that I see here in South Africa is young female runners.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that, there can be a lot more development there. And I want to kind of use the things that I've learned and kind of grow a squad from that, and use kind of the sponsors that have helped me in my career, and just put it on to something, kind of give it on to something better.
Yeah. Is this something that you sort of have in somewhat of a level of development now that you're working on for when that day comes?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things in process. We started pre-COVID doing some work with an orphanage, and that was going well. And then, lockdown happened, and we got totally blocked, and it became really hard. But then now we've got some new channels, and we're growing and developing. We've got one young development guy that we've helped, and a couple more have kind of led on from that, but. Yeah, on the women's side of things, it's definitely something that's started going in the pipeline, which is really cool.
Yeah, and you said this is more focused on pure runners.
Yeah. So I think, again, just the triathlon side of things in a development country, it's really hard. You'd only be able to help a much smaller
It's
pool of people.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insanely expensive. That's really neat. So I was actually going to ask, is that because you want to kind of get back to your pure track days, but it makes more sense with the developmental countries, or anywhere where they would have a little bit more of a struggle in getting to sports. So that's really neat. Is there any way that anyone who's listening can kind of look into helping support that?
Yeah, so at the moment, every time I'm coming back from Europe and London, I'm doing kit drops. So any old trainers, old kit.
Cool.
We've got 3 kind of development camps, White River, here in Johannesburg, and down in Durban. So we're just making sure that those guys, they're older runners, but we're making sure they're the ones at the moment that are going to help bring up the young ones. So we're just making sure they've got kit, and that's kind of an easy way to, if you have anything lying around.
For sure. Cool. So you are coached by Tim Don currently still?
I am, yes.
How long has he been your coach?
I'm going to sound like an old record, but yeah, since COVID.
Okay, nice.
Everything happened in COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that. I don't know if you remember, there was that Daytona race.
Mm-hmm.
Just as things were opening up, kind of.
PTO race, right?
Yes, yeah. And I talked to him there. Absolutely got my ass kicked. I was pretty much had gone back to being on a running program. I was like, sure, I need a triathlon coach now. And just as things were opening up. He took me on.
So you said you were on a running program, so you had a coach just for running, and you were kind of self-coaching swimming and biking. Is that right?
So I actually didn't have, that was the first year that I've ever not been coached.
Okay.
I didn't have a coach. We had no access to a pool. So I was just doing Zwift kind of races. There was that racing league on Zwift.
That race series, yeah.
Yeah. And then just going back through all my old kind of run training programs and trying to beat my times. That when I was a runner. So just using those sessions and trying to beat them.
Yeah. Was your first race back post-COVID, you said, was the PTO race?
So they put on a race here in South Africa that I went to. I think that was a month before. Yeah, down in PE.
Okay. Where in the lineup, because this is when I actually first met you. I know you have no idea of remembering me, but we raced Ironman 70.3 Florida, I believe. Haines City. Do you remember that race?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Were you being coached by Tim at that time then? Because that was like right after COVID. That must have been right in the mix of those other races.
Yeah, so that I'd had my first 3 months. I think that was in a March or an April time. So I'd had my first 3 months of coaching with him, and I was already starting to doubt everything. I was like, listen, like, Tim, you're giving me way less than I'm used to. Like, I can
Yeah.
take way more. And I was bugging. He's like, can you just trust me? Like, just do a race and trust me. And so I did the South African Nationals, and I won. But then I was like, sure, like, Tim, this is just South Africa. Like, get me abroad, get me. And he's like, okay, Florida. So, and I'm terrible in humidity and heat are not for me. But it was a chance to race. So I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And yeah, it went well.
Yeah, you did win that race, right? Or was
Yeah,
it?
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, I just have to tell a short story as a fan boy here, but I remember, so that was like the first Ironman race I had ever done because I did a little homegrown race prior to that because obviously COVID. So that was my first like Ironman experience, and I remember starting the run. I'm pretty sure you were on your second loop about to finish, and I had not taken any salt because I just didn't know, and I was like tunnel visioning, and I remember you passed us going so fast that I felt like I was walking. And I was like, wow, she's so cool. Maybe one day I'll get to meet her. So it's all full circle now. That's like several years ago. So it's
Sure.
pretty cool. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say, and there you were, like sweat, like walking on the run, sweating it out.
No, I was like,
I guess
I
that was
literally,
brutal.
yeah, it was tough. I'm surprised I didn't pass out because I was just running from my cousin who against everything in my will, I did not want him to beat me.
Yeah.
But he was coming up and yeah, it was just like,
Oh,
and yeah.
who won?
I beat him by about 6 or 7 minutes. He just every time we turned around, I thought he would get a little closer, but he started falling back, and I pushed a little harder and almost probably died. But it was a good
Worth
experience.
it.
Yeah, totally worth it. So coached by Tim. So what did he do? And aside from just difference in volume, was there an increase in intensity, lower in volume, or like how did that change? Because it sounds like you had some doubts and drawbacks there at the beginning.
Yeah, so I'd always seen myself in triathlon as like I was the runner, like survive the swim, like pretty much just be where I can on the bike, and then it was all about my run.
Run the house down.
And he was like, actually, like you're a half decent swimmer. Like we need to try and aim for that bigger pack. And you need to learn to bike. Like you need to be more confident in your bike. Because he was like, your numbers are good, but you're just not aero. So yeah, a lot of that was, first of all, bringing my watts down so that I could hold all my watts in a nice aero position. So being fast on the road. Um, and yeah, it was kind of doing my easier, doing less volume. So not training 3 times a day, every day, trying to do everything hard. It was, yeah, doing it easier, a lot easier so that you're hard. Like he was giving me times that I was like, oh, he's crazy. Like I can never run this, or like, how does he expect me to push these watts? But he's like, okay, if you do your easier, you'll hit these key sessions so much harder. But in my head, it was still a lot less. And I
Yeah.
just felt like overall I was going to be a lot less fit. But it worked. Yeah, I revved an engine. I got a new engine and I actually got fitter from it.
Wow, that's really neat. Was there any, I mean, you said that you had some doubts, but how long did it take before you were like, okay, this is who I am now. This is how I'm training. Like, was it race wins or was it like you just accepted it and trusted him?
Yeah, I think in Florida, I was like, okay, cool, but like it's not the biggest field in the world. Like I still was giving him a hard time. And then I raced a week or 2 weeks later at Utah, and had one of the fastest bike legs. I think Daniela won, then Jeannie was
Hmm.
second, I was third. But it was like a stacked field, like North American champs, like first big race that
Yeah,
after COVID, and it felt
everybody's
like
there.
everyone was there. And then I was like, okay, like maybe I can bike. Like, yeah.
Yeah. What place did you end up coming in for that
Pardon?
one? What place did you end up coming in for that race?
Third.
It was third. Nice. That's really impressive. So then I want to shift gears a little bit with kind of going back to the mindset thing. How do you think that sport has molded the way that you think and approach life? Not just sport, but as a larger sum of things.
Yeah, I think a lot of how like I looked at life, I guess growing up, like one of the most important things I think my mum kind of got into us was that you should always look to give more than you take, and then like life will be good. And so I've always tried to think, okay, like not thinking about the outcomes, like think about what I'm putting into this. Like, am I putting in the hard work? Am I like not do I deserve this? Like, should I be getting this? Like, what can I get out of this? Just thinking about the process, thinking about committing to it. And I think also I feel like there's a big ownership and responsibility on, like, if people write to me and if people follow me, like to engage with people, because so many people have inspired me and changed my life. Like as a hyperactive kid, I could have just been one of those naughty kids that was bad at school and just got into trouble, then found it hard to get a job and kind of a downward spiral. And instead, like my mum helped put that energy and focus into sport and encourage that side of things. And the role models kind of helping me, that they just made that kind of more achievable. And I just feel like then as you climb up there, you got to be the same. Like you've got to be human, you've got to be honest, you got to be real, you got to tell people about the tough stuff as well as like the great stuff, because it's you never know who you're inspiring and whose lives you're touching. And if we're all doing that in life, I think we keep getting stronger, and it's just all about positivity. And I try in life not to hold on to anything negative, and just be that. Again, now that I feel more in a balanced place, just to look at life as focusing on what you're giving to life and what you're giving to other people, and not worry about kind of what's around the corner.
Yeah, a lot of really neat values and principles there. That sounds like you not only learned from your mom, but some of the other people you've been surrounded with. My question is, when growing up, did you grow up in like a religious or spiritual household, or are these just kind of the principles that your family set, or how did that wrap all up together?
Yeah, so my mum and dad, very Christian, still go to church every Sunday. Like when we were little, we went to Sunday school, and totally, like I used to love it. I used to have lots of friends there. And then training kind of took over on a Sunday morning. And then I'd be running on a Sunday morning. And then I worked because I'd always want to kind of buy my own shoes, buy my own running kit. So I worked on a Sunday evening at a roller disco. That kind of cancelled me going to church. But I think, my mum's always made sure that that's kind of been the backbone of how we've been brought up.
Sure. Do you still go to church, or are you still training?
Still training. It never stops.
Yeah, for
But we
sure.
do, like when we do Jaryd's family also, have a really good church down in Durban and one up here in Joburg. So on all the special occasions, we go.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really neat. So trying to think about this next question, how to weave it in. We'll come back to it. So 70.3 Worlds is coming up in Finland in just a few weeks. How many weeks away is it? I haven't been
Next
counting.
week, I leave on
6 weeks.
Sunday.
Oh, you live on Sunday, so you just to get like acclimated and rested and get into a groove.
Yeah, just to get the travel out of my legs. Like
Yeah,
overnight travel is,
yeah, it's tough. Well, how long is that trip? You got to go up to like
So
one
I
Asia.
go Sunday night. I fly. I think it's 11 hours to London, and then spend Monday in London with my family, see my nephew. Then Tuesday morning I'll fly to Helsinki, which I think is like 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, how are you feeling going into it? Obviously, it's 6 weeks away, so there's still some time for stuff to happen in a good way. Do you think that this could be your chance at first place overall to get that world championship title?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've had a second, I've had a third, but I've also had two ninths and a fifth. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Wells is such a tricky one, and I've definitely fallen into that trap of giving it too much, of giving it everything, of going in with this like animal mentality of this is what I've been building the whole year up to, and I don't think that really works for me. So last year we went with more of a, okay, we've done everything, now it's any other race. Let's be happy, let's flow, let's do what we can. And I think you've got two athletes there that on their day, they have destroyed fields, like Taylor Knibb and Danny Reef. Like they've put like 7 minutes into strong world championship fields. So I think they're going to be the ones that, yeah, have raised the game for all of us. And yeah, I've done everything. I feel in great shape. Like
Good.
training's gone well. So yeah, I'm actually excited for it.
Yeah. Crazy, almost stupid question, which kind of goes along with the podcast. Do you wear earrings or any jewelry when you race?
No, no, I feel like my rings, even when I swim,
Take
that's
them off.
yeah, I just automatically take off my rings, take out my earrings, and yeah.
Do you have an opinion on the girls who do wear jewelry when they race? I think there's only a few of them, so maybe calling somebody else. Or maybe you've never noticed.
Uh, I think good for them if they like. I'd like to be someone that can. I just, yeah. But I'm so like even I don't wear socks. I cut the little end of my hair before I race. Like I do everything to make myself like light, and I don't know. It's a runner's thing.
Yeah. Well, so let me push back on that a little bit because when I've watched track racing, usually just at the Olympic level, because that's when it's most interesting to me as not a track runner. But a lot of the dudes are like wearing these gold necklaces and stuff, and I'm like, that makes no sense to me. So, what is that like a tradition thing that you know about, or what is all about that about?
Yeah, I love it
Good
because
luck.
they're in like the full aero skin suit and then they have this massive like chain that, yeah, you must just think yeah, it can't be, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that it's like a mental kind of comfort type.
Good luck
Yeah, there
charm.
must be something special about it because I used to race with a girl that we'd run indoor track races and she'd have these dark glasses on and I was like, surely like that can't help, like it must be annoying, you can't hardly see inside.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, no, that's like it's like the horse blinkers, like she just couldn't race without these glasses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty wild.
mm.
So you rode before, if I'm remembering correctly, Specialized. Is that right? Like most previously, and then you switched to Cadex, and I have my own opinions of that bike. I've never used it. It looks interesting. I'll say that. I remember watching a video, and you were like, "It looks fast," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, it looks fast." But do you have a true opinion when you're not on a Cadex commercial of that bike? Obviously, they're sponsors, so you can't say too much. But what's your? Do you have? Are you allowed to share?
Yeah, do you know what? Like to begin with, I was like, oh, like I'm not sure. Like when it got sent to me, I hadn't all seen was Christian on it. Like I hadn't
Yeah,
seen a girl on it. So I was like, let's see. And then I rode it and I thought, actually, I feel pretty damn cool. And like we
yeah.
stop at a petrol station and no one cares about the other guys' bikes. Like everyone's crowding around mine. And they all think it's an e-bike though. Everyone thinks that I got a motor in there. So yeah, I just ran with that. I'm like, yeah, I can't keep up with these guys. So I'm on the big heavy bike and but no, do you know what? It took a bit of time because it feels very different. But now like yeah, I'm really starting to love it. I've got comfortable on it. And it feels like a bit of a beast, like a bit of a weapon. Yeah,
It
it's
it
smooth
looks
as
like one.
stealth. Yeah.
It does look like one. I mean, so I can't say too much because I haven't ridden on it. But when you first started, well, let me ask this question: how heavy is it compared to like your Specialized bike? Is it that much heavier, or is it just the look of the geometry?
Yeah, do you know what? It really isn't. Like I thought, like it looks like heavier and it looks more cumbersome. So I was getting on it thinking, okay, like I used to be able to like nip around and do all these things on my Specialized, and then now it's going to be like this big, heavy. But really, it's not. Like it's actually been easy to move. I've done Pas de Axe and Swansea, which are two of the hilliest 70.3s, and it's been strong. Like it's been really good, and yeah, I kind of like as well. It's so easy to have all my stuff in there, which is good for me. Like I don't like having gels flipping around and all this kind of other stuff. It's like all nice, tight in there, easy to get, and yeah.
So it's an integrated bento box into the frame. Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah.
yeah.
And also you can fill, so your integrated bottle system, you can actually grab a bottle on course and it's got a little like squeezy hole you can fill it up in,
Yeah.
which again is, yeah, easier. And it's easy to adjust. Like we've been able to put the razors in and get my hands to the exact position that I wanted to. Like it's taken time, like it always takes time on a new bike to get your
Sure.
position, but yeah, now I'm happy.
So what does that mean for you? Because I know some people go to like aero testing and they'll do all kinds of stuff. I think Magnus spent thousands on like his position and that crazy fairing on the back of his water bottle for the PTO. I heard. So do you go and do aero tunnel stuff? Is that what that means, or is it like you literally just getting comfortable on the road and?
Yeah, like I think I got a good feel for it. I went in the specialized tunnel and I got a good feel for kind of what did and what didn't work, especially kind of around the position that I like, again, with my shoulder, how I like my hands to sit, where it doesn't kind of get uncomfortable, that I can hold the position.
Hmm.
And yeah, I race in a swimsuit, so I'm not the most like adamant on aerodynamics. I want to be comfortable and yeah, be fast out of being comfortable and not overheating and stuff.
Sure. Is there an argument to say that they're like wearing the lycra or whatever, like the sleeved suit is faster than just bare skin?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The full
Really?
suit is way faster. And Tim is always
Interesting.
like, we have the argument before every race. I'm like, I'm wearing the swimsuit. He's like, wear the full suit. It is faster, but then yeah, in a cooler race, like 100%, I'll always wear it. But anything where it might be humid or kind of that body temperature gets up a bit, yeah, I just race so much better in my swimsuit.
Yeah. Are you the only professional woman right now? Like, I forget what your actual rank is, but like top 50 or whatever it is. Are you the only female riding the Cadex right now? Because I haven't noticed anyone else.
Yeah, so I know that Michelle Vesterby, I've seen her on it, and I think Grace Steek has just got one as
Okay.
well. So yeah, I think we're going to see more ladies riding it, which is
Sure.
cool. Like I
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, you don't want it just to be a guy's bike.
Yeah, for sure. Are they going to start giving them pretty sweet paint jobs? Like, does yours have a specific paint job for you?
So at the moment, mine's just black. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a bright pink one. I think would be quite cool.
Yeah, we'll have to tag them in Cadex in this and see if we can get them to give you a paint job on that. So a couple more questions here, kind of wrapping up. Um, so I just recently started this podcast, and when I first started it, it wasn't even supposed to necessarily be like focused on triathlon, but I have found that the community has been such that the majority of people who I ask through Instagram usually is like, "Hey, would you be interested in being on this podcast?" They're like, yeah." And I was really shocked at how many people have been saying yes. So why do you think people are so kind about that?
Um, I think it's just interesting to talk to people, especially people that are different. Like I like your podcast name was different, like stupid questions. Like it's not going to be the same. Like I grew up as a runner, like I swim, bike, and run every day. I
Sure.
do this X amount of training, like going through your training things. I think yeah, it's nice to get to know other personalities in triathlon, and yeah, I always find it interesting, like the different takes on different questions, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think you always learn as well talking to someone else, and then I get interested in their podcast and listen to other people, and yeah, I think it's a good way to share knowledge as well.
Yeah, for sure. Have I lived up to the name Stupid Questions? Is it what you thought it would or wouldn't be? And you can be totally brutally honest.
Yeah, no. It's different. Like it hasn't followed the. It's been cool.
Yeah, that's what we call ignorance, everybody.
Oh.
Going into it with a attitude. No, so it actually kind of comes from I grew up. Well, I didn't grow up, but I did college and started my own business, and in part of that, I got to go to back and forth to China, doing just like manufacturing. But one thing I always enjoyed was just meeting people way outside of my realm of like people I would normally network with, and then it kind of I think trained me a little bit to do these kind of podcast things because I mean I met people from all over the world doing different stuff where we had no real common ground other than we were human and we could speak English sometimes. So it like really put me outside the edge to like ask questions, and a lot of them probably came across as like that's a stupid question. So yeah, it's been neat. I've just been overwhelmed with the kindness of so many people being willing to jump on and give it a shot. So it's been really sweet.
Oh, that's awesome. I think as
Yeah.
well when people ask in the right way, and it's so yeah, it's genuinely interesting, especially to athletes. It's
Mm-hmm.
super cool.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, it's probably getting pretty late, almost 8:30 there in Johannesburg. So we'll let you jump off and get some sleep. But best of luck to you, and really looking forward to sharing this podcast with everybody. And again, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been super fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great
Yeah,
to see
cool.
you.
Yeah, you too. So thank you so much for listening to this episode with Emma Pallant-Browne. Best of luck to her on the World Championship in Finland in just a short time, in 6 weeks from the time of this recording, August 17. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, this episode is brought to you by Trax Racing Shorts, so check those out if you want to get some endurance running shorts. Excuse me. And thank you guys so much for listening in and tuning in, and we will talk to you later.